All right, everybody, welcome. Please keep yourselves muted. And a reminder, we are recording this program. Welcome to our meditation session. This evening of self-care is designed specifically for the unique needs of animal rights activists, hosted by Animal Activism Mentorship and myself, Michele Granberg. Our mission at AAM is to empower activists to boldly act and equip them with what they need to fight for animal liberation. AAM teaches specific tools to help activists lay a strong foundation for years to come. We offer a 3-month free mentorship program designed for activists at all levels, where we pair experienced activists with aspiring activists. Through one-on-one mentoring, we generate an increased number of effective activists worldwide because we know this movement needs more activists. So discover more about AAM on our website. And as I said at the end, I'm going to make some quick announcements. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to share my screen and start to talk a little bit about our evening, about our program. Yay, and okay. All right, so all right, so I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about meditation. So, yeah, my journey with meditation started about 35 years ago. A friend introduced me to meditation, and it was an open eye form of meditation called Raj Yoga meditation. I remember the first time that I meditated, it was like coming home. For me, it was a really profound experience. It was like rediscovering something that I didn't even know that I had lost. And I was really hooked on meditation. Fast forward, I've been meditating, teaching meditation for 32 years. I was trained in mindfulness meditation techniques by Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn. If you're not familiar with Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn, then look him up. He's a really great resource with many books and videos and training. So I'm in private practice as a coach, healer, and meditation teacher. Both practicing and teaching meditation has really transformed my life in so many ways. And it's my go-to practice. I use it with all of my clients, and it's personally made me a better person. So I'm going to start with talking a little bit about stress. So everybody, of course, knows what stress is. However, I'm going to define it anyway to give a good reminder about stress as an everyday thing, as something that all of us experience, but then talk a little bit about why animal rights activists have additional stress on top of stress. So stress is our unique response to stressors. It's our individual reaction to stimuli perceived as overwhelming, threatening, dangerous, offensive, or negative. We could also say that stress is our personal reaction to sudden or gradual change. So stress, just a reminder that stress is subjective. Everybody, different things stress different people out. It's a matter of interpretation when we interpret something as stress, although there's lots of universal major stressors that all of us experience as stress. And the stress response is how we instinctually, just like as human animals, just like our non-human animal friends, we instinctually react to stressors with that fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. Stress activates adrenal hormones that heighten our senses, tense up our muscles, and prepare us to deal with a threat or danger. And this exaggerated automatic reaction is appropriate for emergencies, but not for everyday stressors like traffic and taking an exam, talking to your boss, fighting with your spouse, or paying bills. But For the most part, your body doesn't know the difference, and your body reacts as if the threat is real and goes into that mode to prepare you to survive. And by now, you're all familiar with long-term consequences of stress, these stress-related disorders. And they really actually say that most disorders, diseases, conditions are not organic. They are stress-related, they're lifestyle-related, most of them, like insomnia, high blood pressure, heart disease, digestive tract disturbances like gastritis, ulcers, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue syndrome, migraines, neck and back problems, cancer, and more, and even much more than that. So, what are some of the effects of stress, the types of stress, the components of stress that are more unique to us as animal rights activists? And of course, these are not, just animal rights activists, but we are more predisposed to stress because of what we experience. One of the unique components of the stress that we endure as animal rights activists is secondhand trauma. And so secondhand trauma is the duress of witnessing, the duress of bearing witness, of seeing or hearing of the trauma of others. Okay, so it's when we see the footage, it's when we bear witness, it's when someone tells us about what's happening to the animals, we experience that secondhand trauma. Unfortunately, right now, with so many mass shootings, I hate to bring that up, but in schools, so many children are right now experiencing this secondhand trauma from the survivors of that, from seeing and bearing witness and seeing what's going on around them, and they'll never be quite the same. And then there is compassion fatigue. So compassion fatigue is experienced by those who advocate on a regular basis for others. So not just us as animal rights activists, but very often compassion fatigue is experienced by nurses and social workers and first responders, but even like shelter owners, those who own, dog cat shelters, and sanctuary owners, and caregivers of those who are caring for parents, elderly parents, ill parents, as well as maybe special needs children, can all experience compassion fatigue. Okay. So, disenfranchised stress. What's unique about the stress that we as animal rights activists endure is that it's disenfranchised, which means it's not well accepted, it's not well known, it's outside of the norm, it's sort of on the fringes of what's considered mainstream stress, sort of. It can also be known, and therefore, people don't understand it, people don't necessarily validate it because of that. In fact, it's often dismissed, diminished, or devalued. Claire Mann calls it feeling like a stranger in a strange land. Okay, so if you relate to that, go ahead and share that in the chat if you would like to, if you understand these firsthand, and what that's like for you. So, another unique part of stress endured by animal rights activists is that because our eyes are wide open, because we are seeing what most of the world doesn't see, and once your eyes are open, I'm sure you know that you can't close them again. You don't want to close them, and it's impossible to unsee what we've seen. And it's almost like we're living in an alternate reality, it feels like, and that is really stressful. It feels like we are experiencing something like, doesn't everybody else see this? Why doesn't everybody wake up? It's so real to us, and yet so far off and far removed for so many others. And Claire Mann the author of Dystopia calls that the burden of knowing. Okay. And also activists by nature are wired to as more highly sensitive people, and that may be partly why we are drawn to this in the first place, because of our sensitivity. But at the same time, we take on more stress, we feel stress more because of that sensitivity. I don't think I would change that about myself. You might feel the same way. I would rather be a person who is sensitive and empathic and empathetic than not, even though the stress and all of these stress-related feelings are there. And also burnout. We have to really, I'm sure you realize that we have to be careful not to burn out. Burnout is common within the animal rights community. So burnout is that emotional, physical, mental exhaustion from consistent stress over long periods of time, right? So burnout is not something that occurs overnight, certainly, but it is something that is that compounding of stress over time when that stress is not processed, when it's not properly released, when there's no relief and no relief in sight, you can burn out. So that's something to be careful on so that you can continue to function and to help the animals. Yeah. So some of the long-term effects of stress, of this stress, is poor health. As I already mentioned, many of the disorders and conditions and diseases started with stress over time, because the mind and the body are connected. Okay. Also, one of the long-term effects is relationship issues. You might recognize that in your life, that it might be partly the being on having such different views and different values with family members, with friends, with your spouse, with your loved one, with your partners. And you can see that stress that we experience ripples out into those relationships, even beyond, trying to find some common ground. We struggle in day-to-day functioning. That's a long-term. If stress goes unaddressed, we can start to struggle in our day-to-day functioning, meaning that we're not taking care of ourselves. We're not eating right or exercising or sleeping or bathing even, or getting dressed or getting things done. Even our work performance can suffer from that. And over time, chronic stress can lead to mental health issues, more serious issues like depression and anxiety. Also, emotional dysregulation. Emotional dysregulation is those consistent overreactions, right? Where it just doesn't take much to set you off. It doesn't take much to have that last nerve pushed, but we're finding it that constantly our emotions feel out of control. That's really a sign of stress over time, that emotional dysregulation due to the inability to self-manage, to self-control our emotions, right? Which is different than suppressing them. We still have to be able to regulate appropriately our emotions and not feel that our emotions are controlling us, versus, acting out on those emotions versus feeling them and responding to those emotions, of course. And then addictions are also can be an effect of people's unhealthy way of coping with stress through different types of addictions of all kinds. So let's talk a little bit about emotions. These are some of the emotions that are very challenging. Emotions are emotions and feelings are feelings, and there's really no such thing as a good or bad feeling. But I think we forget that emotions are like on a spectrum. It's like a rainbow of emotions. there is just a very unlimited, endless array of emotions. And it's really important to be able to identify our emotions so that we can really drill down into how to help ourselves to recognize and identify these emotions, and then to be able to explore those emotions and to be able to cope and shift those emotions as well. So take a moment to look at this list of emotions and read them to yourself if you could, if you want to, if you can read them. And think for yourself, which ones do you feel the most? How often do you feel those? And you can share in the chat. I mean, I left a lot of emotions off this list. So we're talking about the challenging emotions right now. So feel free to, if you want to share, of course, it might be kind of personal, but it's up to you to share if you'd like to, what emotion challenges you the most, what you tend to feel the most, anything that I've forgotten on this list, you can put that in the chat, okay? Yeah, thank you. I'm reading the chat a bit, and great. I'm glad that people are relating to what I'm saying. It really is the common experience of all of us as animal rights activists. Okay, and it really does help you, right, to know that you're in good company and to have that validated. So take another moment or two to take a look at this list, and I find it helpful to help you to, sometimes when we feel we don't know what we feel, or we feel numb almost, or we just feel like overwhelmed or scattered, it helps to just identify our emotions, to write them down, to identify them. It just is helpful. And then we can say to ourselves, I'm not crazy. Like, this feeling that feels kind of like I'm crazy is not me being crazy. There's an underlying feeling underneath the emotion, underneath this more heightened feeling. There's an actual emotion, and there's a reason for that, right? Nothing comes from nothing. All emotions come from a trigger and from some conversation you're having in your head and some belief that you have, and all of that can be explored without judgment. Okay, so yeah, so see if you do any of these things as natural, of course, but not so healthy ways of dealing with stress and emotions. I know, I hear all the time, a lot of animal rights activists sort of brush their stress or brush their feelings under the rug and sort of soldier on. So, you can share in the chat if that's something that you do. And sometimes animal rights activists will actually shame themselves for struggling, for having normal feelings. It's a crazy world, and it's a crazy situation that we're fighting against. It's not okay, and it's not normal that animals are enduring what they're enduring. So of course it's natural for us to feel what we're feeling. So please don't feel guilty on top of the other feelings you're having. Don't feel guilty for feeling your feelings, okay? And sometimes we have to kind of lean into those feelings, but we're going to talk more about that. And then there's sort of my pain is nothing compared to theirs. And that's true. It's true. It's absolutely true. If we say that, that is a true statement, that the pain we endure, the secondhand stress, the secondhand pain, the secondhand trauma that we experience when we're nose to nose or watching footage of animals is nothing. It's not even in the same stratosphere compared to theirs, but it's not, I'm not going to say it's not a comparison, but it doesn't take away from the importance of acknowledging what we feel as well. because we can't bypass it. So it's both. It's holding space for our secondhand feelings that are based on their feelings and what they're going through, and holding space for both. And so do you agree with that? I don't know if, how you feel about that, and if you experience or say that to yourself, and often it's how, for myself, I get myself to go on and continue. When I'm feeling tired or burnt out, I say, well, they're enduring so much more. Every minute of the day, what we experience is pretty fleeting a lot of the time. Nonetheless, still, we want to hold space for what we're going through so that we can replenish ourselves and go on. And so many activists will minimize their feelings and invalidate themselves and just sort of erase themselves from the equation. We are focusing on the animals, and we want to keep the animals front and center. Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course we do. We want to keep the animals front and center. That's why we're doing what we're doing, but we don't have to erase us from the equation in order to do that. Sometimes activists, not just activists, but people in general, all the time will project their stress onto others when they're not effective at managing stress. They'll take that stress, and what do we mean by project it? It's almost like you send it, you filter it, and you project it onto others, which is like blaming others or erupting towards others because something's happening on the inside of you. The stress that's going on in you needs an outlet, needs a release button, needs a release valve. And if you don't have healthy ways of processing that stress, often accidentally, subconsciously, by default, will project it onto others. And many activists do bottle their feelings or ignore or deny their feelings. So let me just check the chat here and see how everybody's doing. Yeah. Thank you for all your comments there. Yes, Cordelia says she'd welcome feeling numb. It would be nice if there was like a button that we could push on our emotions to just get a break from our emotions sometimes, because the emotions are always so present, and we can find healthy distractions, and we still have to find joy in life, even though we see these horrific, we know what's going on and it's nonstop, and we still have to find joy. We still have to find joy and relief anyway. So fortunately, there are coping tools for coping with stress and emotions that are with the emotions that are a natural result of being an animal rights activist. Yeah, guys, I mean, you feel what you feel because you have an open heart, because you're willing to go into those places that are emotional, because you're willing to try to move through the pain and the sadness of what we see in order to help. I don't know how we can help without, or be as effective, maybe we can, without seeing some of it or without feeling the feelings. The feelings are the motivators very often. The feelings are the fuel for keeping us going, right? The feelings are the impetus very often that get us off our seat, right? That get us off our seat. And that's important. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about meditation and practice meditation. So I'm wondering if any of you, as I asked before, if any of you are meditators currently. Are you a beginning meditator? Are you a long-time meditator? Are you sort of intermediate, somewhere in the middle? Do you have intermittent meditation practice? Feel free to share in the chat, or something like meditation, right? There are many things that are cousins of meditation, and meditation itself takes many forms. So have you tried it once or twice? What do you love about it? What do you struggle with? What do you like or love, or I don't want to say hate about it. Hopefully not. Yeah, we have a long time meditator, Morgan, with us. Thank you so much. Yeah, so feel free to share about your relationship with meditation as we move into our meditation in just a bit. But I want to clear up some misconceptions about meditation, like what it's not. Hopefully, a lot of what stops people from trying meditation or people give up too soon is because they put a little bit too much undue pressure on themselves to be perfect just out of the gate, or they just don't stick with it. Or they've heard things about meditation that maybe are just not realistic. So here I say, meditation is not really as mystical or mysterious. It's not really. It's a practice. It's a practice of self-management, self-regulation, relaxation. It can be whatever you really want it to be, because we add and embellish meditation in ways that we want to. But meditation is not an out-of-body experience. You're not going to levitate when you meditate. At least I've never seen that happen yet. It is not inherently religious or necessarily spiritual unless you take those forms of meditation and practice them. There are forms of meditation within all religions to some degree. Even we could say prayer is sort of like a form of meditation. And the spiritual aspect of meditation I love, but it might not be for everyone. So you can bring spirituality into the practice of meditation to whatever degree you would like to, but it's not necessarily inborn to it. There's not one type of meditation. You don't necessarily need a teacher or a guru. Sometimes that can be helpful, especially when you're starting out, but you can teach yourself to meditate, or you can learn a tool and practice, a method and practice on your own, okay? Meditation is not about, yay, Vipassana meditation. Me too. Vipassana. It's not about creating a completely blank, quiet mind. And people always say their biggest reason for why they can't sit in meditation is because their mind is too busy, too active. But I always say, well, that's the very reason to meditate. And we can't expect our mind. There's no way for our mind to be blank, maybe for more than 10 seconds. I'm able to quiet my mind and make it completely blank really for about 10 seconds. And then a thought will pop in. But you can go back to quiet gaps between your thoughts. Or we can have thoughts that are less invasive, less obsessing, less discursive thoughts when we meditate. The nature of our thoughts tend to change when we meditate. They become softer. They become different thoughts. You don't have to be completely still in meditation. There are actually moving meditations, walking meditations. We could say that yoga perhaps is a form of moving meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong. Sometimes people even use eating as a meditation, like mindful eating or an eating meditation practice. And remember that results with meditation are not necessarily immediate, at least the long-term deep results as a long-term discipline. You do get immediate, I think you do get some results every time you sit and meditate. If you bring intention and purpose and create, carve out even just 1 minute for meditation, meditation will change your state. It may not last, but you do get immediate results from breathing, from sitting quietly, from trying, putting in a little effort to meditate. And yeah, it's not just a technique. Meditation is not just a technique. There are many techniques, but the techniques are like the pointer. The techniques are like the arrow toward the meditative state, right? The techniques are like the path. You follow that path, doing that technique to bring you to cultivate the meditative state. And also technically, really, we can live in a state of meditation. It's challenging in this world to do that, but in theory, it's possible to live meditatively. It's a way of being, to live more mindfully most of the time, and to be in that more, sometimes it's called the flow state, to be a little bit more in that flow state. I'm hoping this is making sense to everybody. Sleeping meditations, cool, Amanda. Love it. Guided, yeah. There's guided meditations, and there are meditations designed to help us fall asleep. Although sleeping is not meditation, it's deeper than meditation. It's a different brainwave state than meditation. As I said, they're all cousins. meditation is an altered state, a normal, natural altered state. And there are many other types of altered states, like daydreaming is an altered state, and nighttime dreaming is an altered state, right? So anyway, meditation, though, is a state. As I say, the meditative state is a natural state of altered consciousness we can all access. And in fact, we go in and out of altered states throughout the day. It's healthy, it's normal, and it's natural. We see our animals go in and out of like a meditative altered state, right? When all of a sudden you're looking at your dog and they're just kind of staring off into space, and they're just like, they're not asleep, but they're just sort of in that zone, right? They're helping themselves to balance. Meditation is deliberately directing our awareness or shifting our focus of attention. It can be either narrowing or broadening our focus, right? So meditation could be narrowing on a single point, the breath, or on a little image, or like focusing inward. But it could also be broadening your focus by focusing. It's a meditative state to focus on everything around you at once and hold the space for that, or even imagine expanding beyond the earth. You can meditate on that, right? Broadening your awareness as if you've gone out, you've gone far. So there are many forms of meditation, too many to mention, way too many to mention here, but there's mantra-based meditations where people repeat a chant or words or phrases. Those focus attention inward on a single repetitive thought or word or spoken sound. And there's also creative visualization or guided imagery, which is the active use of multisensory images or creative imagination as a guided inner journey. We're going to do that. We're going to do that in a bit. We're going to do some guided visualization. Now, mindfulness. Let me say a few things about mindfulness and mindfulness meditation, because mindfulness is the state. Mindfulness meditation is like the practice and the technique of applying bringing mindfulness into meditation. Hey, but you know what mindfulness is, so go ahead and share in the chat. What is mindfulness? Put your definition. It's going to wind up being an agreement that we all have. We know what mindfulness is as a way of being. And does anybody here practice mindfulness meditation? Share that if you'd like to. As a way of being in the world, it's bringing non-judgmental, compassionate awareness to the present moment as it unfolds. So those are some of the components of mindfulness. Also, it's paying attention on purpose in the present moment with detached compassion. So those are your components to mindfulness: non-judgmentalness, compassionateness, heightened awareness, present moment awareness, and purposefulness. Okay, so bringing all of that together, mindfulness is about witnessing, bearing witness to the moment. So mindfulness meditation, when mindfulness is brought to a meditation practice, it is bringing the state of awareness of non-judgmental, compassionate, present moment based witnessing awareness to a chosen focal point, like the breath or the body or a body part or movements or surroundings or sounds or sensations, right? So it can be using your awareness like a laser beam or like a telescope to zoom in on a neutral point of attention to cultivate mindfulness and to have a point of return, a home base for the mind that is the monkey mind. I don't know, that might be speciesist to say, but Buddhists tend to say the monkey mind, the metaphor that monkeys tend to jump from branch to branch to branch to branch constantly, just like our minds tend to do that, jump from thought to thought to thought. But even in mindfulness, you can be mindful of silence, mindful of the quiet. You can pay attention to the silence, listen for the silence. And you can even be mindful of everything or nothing. There's a mindfulness practice called choiceless awareness, like not really choosing to focus on any one particular thing, focusing on everything and nothing at once. So I'm going to go over, I'm going to go over some of the benefits of mindfulness meditation, and then we'll go into our practice. I believe we will. So, of course, stress reduction, it decreases the stress reaction. It induces the relaxation response. So that's the opposite of the stress response, which is natural. The relaxation response is also natural. It's on the other end of the spectrum of the stress response. The relaxation response puts us into parasympathetic, engages our parasympathetic nervous system, our ability to be calm, to soothe, to rest in between stress, rest in between stimuli. Okay. Mindfulness, and there's science behind all of this now as well. It improves health and vitality. It helps us self-manage and manage our emotions, regulate our emotions, because we detach more from our emotions, we slow down our reaction time, and we put space between us and our emotions. When you sit in mindfulness meditation, all of a sudden you drop back a little bit into the audience. You're the audience of yourself, and everything else is the movie. So you get distance. And once you get a little, distance from your emotion, you have a better handle on them. Mindfulness meditation is also time for quiet reflection and deeper contemplation, a connection to your own form of personal spirituality. Whatever that is for you, you can enjoy the present moment more. You can develop self-discipline. They've shown that it boosts creativity. It makes you smarter. There's actually studies and correlations between mindfulness meditation and being smart, intelligence. And really, mindfulness meditation can help us cultivate any positive emotion and any productive trait. It's interesting because if you're like me, you're always engaged in the process of growth, of self-improvement. And we can only think ourselves so far into changing ourselves. At some point, we have to actually allow the change. And mindfulness meditation, and meditation in general, puts us into that place of allowing, where we can more so give a more some spaciousness to allowing. Okay. Anyway, I got a little. So we're going to meditate now. Okay, hold on 1 second now. Okay. All right, folks. So what I'm going to do now is lead you in some mindfulness meditation practice, and go right into some visualization. So make yourselves comfortable now. And it's totally fine if you don't want to have your camera on, but you're certainly welcome to. Okay, so taking a moment to make yourself comfortable. And we're going to begin. So our intention for this meditation practice today is to give yourself a good chance to let go of what doesn't serve you, and to prove to yourself that you are absolutely able to create a state that is conducive to feeling healthy and feeling free and feeling like yourself again. So take a moment to let go of the outside world. Take a moment to let go of everything outside of the door. Kind of feel yourself cutting the cords to all the people, places, and things. And I want you to begin to notice the space around you. And even with your eyes closed, allow yourself to sort of scan and circle the space around you. Just become mindful of the room that you're in, that you're in a safe space. And as you create that circle around yourself, make that circle smaller and smaller until you are sitting in the center of your circle, and feel your body. Just begin to notice the way that your body feels. Notice the weight of your body. Notice the outline of your body. And of course, you'll probably hear your own thoughts that insist on commenting or even criticizing yourself and your body. But just noticing those thoughts and come back to the feel of your body, the literal felt sense of your body. You might start by focusing on the way that your feet feel as they touch the ground. And see if you can possibly stay mindful on your feet and just use the sensations of your feet as your focal point and return to the feel of your feet over and over again. And then using that same mindful awareness to begin to climb up your legs all the way to the crown of your head. And as you begin to sit back inside your own skin, notice what it feels like to be you, a alive, intelligent awareness that lives right now, for the moment at least, lives in this body. What's that like for you? See if you can just have the experience of being alive, pure aliveness, pure awareness without commentary. Here I am in this rare, precious moment, experiencing what it feels like to be fully me in the body that I am wearing in this moment. And allow yourself to rise up proudly, like for the first time, really, really taking ownership of your own body, like claiming it. This is me. It's mine. And as much as you can, just sort of holding the space for compassion and non-judgment of the isness of your body, the fact that your body exists. And then from there, pivot your attention to your breathing, right? Your breathing's right there. Your breath is always there. Now you're just paying attention to your breath. All of a sudden, you notice that you're breathing. And so be detached but curious about your breath. And just notice if you can, as a wonderful little exercise for yourself, a little mental exercise, see if you can breathe 3 nice deep breaths without your mind wandering. And if your mind does wander, okay, but try. Make an attempt to be mindful breaths. The next 3 breaths are mindful. And so as you dive a little more deeply into your breath and really notice the multi-sensational richness of your breath, of each breath. Each breath is a little different. Each breath is a world in and of itself. And so approach the breath, relate to your breath as if you're curious and excited and wanting to savor each breath. What if you knew for a fact that this next breath was your last? It's not, but treat it as such for a moment, such that you bring your non-judgmental, compassionate, present moment awareness to the movement of your breath. And I get it. I know your mind wanders. Yep, of course it does. But don't push the thoughts away. Don't fight with the thoughts. Don't argue with the thoughts right now. Just redirect your attention back to your breath over and over again. The mind wanders, come back to the breath. And certainly, you might gently correct your breathing so that your breathing is longer and slower and deeper. We're not really doing breathing exercises right now, although there are many forms of breath work. For now, it's just mindful breathing. However, practice expanding your lungs a little more with each breath, without straining, without effort. Practice filling your lungs and emptying your lungs, and feel your lungs. Feel your lungs, right there they are. They're there. They're protected by your rib cage. But you can feel the expansion of your lungs. So feel, because too often we breathe very shallow. Yes? So notice if you can breathe in, and when you want to stop and breathe out, don't. Breathe in a little more. Be mindful of the length and depth and breadth of your breath. And use the breath as a callback to you, as a home, as touching home. So I'll let you do that for a few moments and just trust the process that you are cultivating mindfulness, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if you think you're doing it wrong, even if your mind is wandering, trust, stillness, and presence underlie the mind. That's right. Very good. Doing really well. And if you feel like you lose concentration or lose focus, a good thing to say to yourself is, oh, well, start again. Start my meditation again and come back to the breath. No biggie. And so as you allow yourself to sit back in the seat of witnessing, of non-judgmental awareness, watching yourself breathing, feeling yourself breathing, notice the shift that is occurring from the impulsive need to do, to act, to think, to figure, to fix everything that we're constantly in motion in our minds, on the treadmill of our minds. Now you are at least stopping, pausing, centering, watching, kind of like waiting, but not waiting for anything. Just being in that state of, the world can turn without me for a while I sit present and aware. One of the most effective meditation, mindfulness practices is whenever a thought pops in, just label it. Label it really quickly, just like thought, and then go back to your breath. If an emotion arises, just label it emotion and go back to your breath. If you have an itch, scratch it. You could say itch and then go back to your breath. And so I'm going to now help us deepen and really make the most of our meditative state, to really use this time for healing and for creating a more positive mindset. So breathing in a way that you begin to release or let go of anything that doesn't serve you. And you don't even have to think about it, but just hold the intention that as I breathe, I'm letting go. I'm willing to surrender anything I've been carrying, anything I've been shouldering, anything I'm attached to. As I breathe, I simply let it go. I'll let it be that simple right now. Let it be that easy. Let it be that simple and uncomplicated, just to let go. And as you do that, notice that maybe you begin to feel a little lighter. So that's the intention. With each breath, you feel lighter, more empty, more clear, right? Kind of like wiping the film away from the mirror. Clean your own mirror. Clean your inner house. with the breath. Empty and release with each breath. And be mindful of all these little inner changes, all these subtle changes within you, different from when you started. And now we use our intention in this mindfulness meditation to practice centering ourselves. So mindfully look within as if there's a little spot behind your navel. Imagine that you're kind of sitting behind your navel, right in the middle of yourself, between the bottom half and the top half of you. Just sink into as if there's a little meditation cushion in the very center of your being. And you just drop in, a little mini version of you is sitting inside your own center. You're sitting there in your own little sanctuary, in your own little temple, your own little cocoon inside yourself. You're tucked into your own flesh, sitting comfortably. Now center yourself. Allow yourself to center mindfully. In other words, with each moment, with each breath, feel yourself anchoring, stabilizing. Stillness, silence, and presence felt there deep in the belly. More and more centered with each moment. Stay there, steady, steady as you go, steady. Breath is rhythmic breathing. Staying focused in the center, and there is power in your center. Feel that you're sitting inside your own power, your own will, your own authority, your own driver. Somehow, some way, allow yourself to reconnect with your own personal power sitting in your center. Reclaim yourself. And breathe down deep into your center. Feel it growing as if with each breath you add more power and strength to your own inner core. Add fuel to your center with each breath and feel that felt sense of that power. And if your mind wanders, simply bring it back. I am centered. You might even say that to yourself. I'm centered. Always feels good to be centered, right? Instead of being fractured and scattered, we're centered. No judgment. Compassion only for yourself. Mindful breathing. And then perhaps now the intention, as you're creating this inner space for where anything's possible, where you're really tapping into the versatility of your mind. I'll suggest that you begin to heal whatever you might need healing of. You don't have to think about it. Just hold that space as you mindfully breathe for the organic, spontaneous healing. In other words, whatever came up for you when we were talking about stress or burnout or negative emotions, whatever you recognized in yourself, now is the time to just allow for that healing of that. So opening up the space for your ability to heal yourself. You are the healer that you've been waiting for. Just allow yourself. Maybe this brings up emotion, so feel that. That's okay. Or you can shelve that and feel it later. But I'll allow you now another moment or two to breathe mindfully, to stay anchored and hooked to your center, to allow for healing and releasing. And so we're going to move shortly into our creating the future for ourselves and animals. And right now, holding yourself as a powerful creator of that. Taking care of yourself first, so we can then even better take care of the animals. So breathing mindfully into your heart center, whatever that means for you. Bring your breath to fill your heart, not the organ, yes, but that place where you feel all those squishy, soft, warm, positive emotions. Mindfully drop into the heart, out of your head. Be fully in the heart, what that feels like to rest in the heart. Notice that the heart is active and engaged. We all come from our hearts as activists. So dropping into your heart center, breathe mindfully into the heart, the seat of loving kindness, the seat of compassion. And so hold space without judgment, without commentary, in the felt sense of the heart. It's not a Hallmark card. It's not a concept. It's not an abstraction, the heart. It's not a bumper sticker or metaphor. It's an actual physical, energetic, emotional place and state within you. It is maybe the real you. So breathe into your heart, own it, claim it, wake up your heart. Don't be afraid of your heart. Don't deny it. Don't resist. Expand your heart as if it's small, now larger and larger and larger. And feel the heart as if it's now breaking free from any constraints. It's beyond your body. Feel your heart is a dynamic, evolving, intelligent being that lives within you, this heart. And the more you can open your heart, the more we can help the animals. If you can get beyond judgment of yourself and others, if you can move beyond ego and strife and stress and just sit in the heart, that's your most powerful super power. That's your heart. Breathing into the heart center. May I receive this love within me. May I feel healed. May I be whole. May I be peaceful once again. May I cultivate resilience. Yeah, focus on that for just a moment. Mindfully hold the space for being resilient. I am resilient. I bounce back. And so we're going to move as we open up our visualization on the wings of the heart, on the ladder, the stairway of the heart. We're going to climb from our heart into our mind's eye, which is just the seat of your imagination, right? Nothing mystical, really, but kind of climb up from your heart like you're taking an elevator from your heart into your mind's eye, like that space behind your forehead, behind your closed eyes, where you can see and imagine and hear things and fantasize, all that good stuff. Open up the door, as if there's a door there. You're opening up the door of your creative imagination to be able to visualize and sense. Open 1, 2, 3, that door. And as you step through it, now we start with a little healing for the planet. And so in your mind's eye, again, no pressure here. So whatever, and it doesn't have to be crystal clear, as long as your intent is there, to hold in your open mind's eye. There it is, bright, an image of the earth, an image of the earth. See the earth maybe from up above or from below, from the earth, from ground level. But get a nice wide view of the earth, the beautiful blue marble floating in space on her axis. Hold in your mind, hold in your heart, mindfully, steady, without judgment. Hold that image of the earth as if she's already healed, she's already well. There's nothing broken or damaged or corrupted about her or anything about her, about the human and non-human animals and plants that live on her. Hold in your mind that she is, that all is well. The earth is well. Hold that in your mind. Make that space in your heart for the whole earth, but then zoom in a little bit as if you can, as if the earth is like a map and you can find little points on that map. Find a point, a little place on the earth that needs a little more attention. And asking yourself, where on the earth do I want to focus my non-judgmental, positive attention and focus there? And so from that, holding the intention that thoughts are powerful things, that small groups can make a difference, even just by aligning their own thoughts and their focus. So let yourself begin to zoom out as if you now leave the earth for a while, however it looks for you to do that. But imagine and feel that you're kind of lifting up, like you're a helium balloon or a rocket ship. And you look up above you, and there's something else above you. There's something else beyond the earth, whatever that looks like for you or feels like for you. Feel yourself lifting as if you can't help it, like you're just floating, like the crown of your head is being pulled, like a marionette string is pulling you up. And then you rise and transcend and arrive in a place purely of your imagination, or purely, maybe it's real, yes? And this is where we can begin there in the, some people call it the quantum field, the space beyond the physical, whatever it looks like for you. This is the place that we begin to create a new world for us and for animals. So begin by, for the next moment or two, if you wish, we wish to now mourn just for a few moments. We wish to grieve and mourn and hold prayer in private and quiet space with the acknowledgement that there have been many losses of animals throughout history and even up until this very moment. And whatever way seems best for you, as if we're all there together in a circle, holding the memories of those who are no longer with us. And even as they are no longer in pain or suffering, we still hold a space. And so in whatever way you wish to say silently anything to those animals, to the many, 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 take a moment to do that in a way that feels best to you. We hold a silent circle of acknowledgement. We ask for forgiveness. If that feels right to you, we remind them that we will keep trying. And from that space of healing the past and moving forward from there, then in your mind's eye, begin to see a parade of beautiful animals. Not like a parade in the streets. I mean, like every species of animals coming and walking there with you, in front of you. Hold the space as you, with each animal that approaches you, that comes to you, that walks next to you, that walks past you, every species there represented, every single species. And in each of those species, holding that collective preciousness and uniqueness of each of those species. See them in your mind, alive and well in your mind. See domesticated animals, as we call them, wild animals, as we call them, farmed animals, as we tend to label them, but see them now from an even higher perspective as simply unique shapes and forms, unique life forms. See them as the best that you can. See them as they see themselves. And hold the space that even at this moment, as we're thinking about them in this compassionate way, in this positive way, as if they're fine, that somehow, maybe on some level, our thoughts are going to them, whether they are on the earth now, whether they're on their way to come into the earth, whether they've already passed from the earth. We're holding the space for the infinite amount of animals who have ever been and will ever be, and holding them in the expanse of our heart in a way that is not fearful, that is not angry, that is not critical, that is not just, no, without any of that, holding just for the pure bliss of being fortunate enough, of being blessed enough to share life with these beautiful beings. And so I'll give you a few moments to just visualize what you wish to visualize, but feel as if the animals are part of you. because they are part of you and inside your heart. And now, beyond that, we are going to all visualize the future we want to see. Nothing ever happens unless we have some blueprint for it, right? Unless we, in addition to taking action, can also almost feel it as if it's real already. So open up the future. Imagine there's a door with a magical key that you have, that we all have. We open up that door that we can see the future, not and create the future. And so bringing your attention mindfully to the open page, the blank canvas of the future, as if it's just waiting to be written, and place in that blank potential, pure space of potentiality, what you wish to see, and try your best to focus on only what you want to see, not what is, not what has been, but create an image of a world that honors animals of all species, that lives side by side, that is in harmony with, that saves and protects and loves and sees as extensions all of us are of one another, a world of nonviolence, a world of peace. Even if it feels like something unattainable in the back of your mind, still hold the space and try to see it and feel it. Painting that beautiful picture of that world. Animal liberation, where all beings are free and happy. And keep holding that image. Put all your power there for a few more moments. And it's okay if your mind wanders. And just continue to hold the space for another moment of this heightened focus. Noticing what it feels like. If our vision was already a reality, our vision of animal liberation, human liberation, and know that that adds, in some way, enhances, and brings us closer. It certainly doesn't get us any further away, but hold the intention that it brings us closer and closer, and visualize it for another moment. And so from there, perhaps finally open up your mind for a message. Maybe a message comes through from yourself or from someone, something, or even from one of the animals. Just let your mind be quiet and listen and see what sort of little whisper pops in, floats through, and take that as true message. And then in a moment or two, you're going to start the journey back, so to speak. And so bring your attention as we begin to reroute to the here and now, the actual space around you from that higher sort of plane. Put a big red ribbon around that vision of the future. Know that it's out there, and come back through the door of the future, back through that image of the earth, holding that, tucking that into your heart, coming back through the door of your mind's eye, and land once again, land squarely in your breathing, and let it just be you and your breath for another few precious, sweet moments before life interferes again and takes over. Let there be this space that you took, that you can take anytime, for mindfulness, which creates spaciousness, present moment awareness. There is only here and now, here and now. Okay, so then you can come back and open your eyes when you're ready, kind of gradually and eventually opening your eyes. And notice how you feel. So would anybody like to share? This is a time when you can, if you want, you can share about how that was for you, or any feedback or any thoughts following that, or a question that you might have for me or for all of us. Or you can certainly put your thoughts in the chat. So if you want to share, you can raise your hand. Oh, thank you. Ecstatic compassion, Matt. I'm glad that was beautiful. I'm glad you liked that. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else want? Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Lauren. This time was a gift. Thank you. Good. Give this gift to yourself more often. Thank you, Amanda. Amanda's putting some links in the chat. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Because if not, that's okay too. Anybody feel motivated to make meditation more a part of their routine? Okay. I think everybody's very relaxed. Are you relaxed? Yes. Yes. Awesome. We'll stay that way and remember this. So then, while you're just kind of in this mode, I'm going to just give it a few more moments, but I'm going to end with some announcements while you're kind of bringing yourself back. So AAM has, great. I'm glad you're relaxed, Lori. Thank you very much. Yeah, feel free to put your feedback in the chat there. We have upcoming workshops coming up. Thursday, May 4th, Mary Finelli of Fish Field joins us for a workshop on advocating for fish. On May 11th, we have Ending Horse Racing with the nonprofit Horse Racing Wrongs. On Tuesday, May 30th, we have police liaison training. And June 8th, we have the Humane Hoax, Exposing the Myth of Happy Meat, Humane Dairy, and Ethical Eggs with author Hope Bohanec. On June 15th, oh, what's on June 15th? Oh, that's all I have then. Oh, no, I'm sorry. On June 15th, we have You Can Teach an Old Dog New Tricks, Going Vegan Later in Life with Eric Lindstrom, Executive Director of Farm. Please check out our previous workshops on our YouTube channel. Go there after this right away and subscribe and watch our previous workshops. That really helps us out. And I'd like to announce our 2023 live events. These are multiple days of in-person, back-to-back activism. The Colorado Convergence is taking place in and around Denver. The dates are June 24th through July 1st. I don't know, Amanda, if you can put the link in there. And Portland, and we're going to Portland, Oregon for the Portland, Oregon Convergence, August 4th through the 12th. And the Ohio Occurrence, organized by Amanda, is September 1st through 3rd in and around Cincinnati. Yeah, the event links, if you can find them on the page, or folks can just go to our page and find the events there.
They're in there. I stuck them in there for you.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you so much. You're good. You're quick. So there's no experience required for these live events. All are welcome, but registration is important and required, especially if you think you want to stay in the activist house. Okay, but we need to know that you're coming if you're coming when you decide. Okay, and so yeah, like Amanda said, she put them in the chat, and you'll also find them on our Facebook page and our website. So any questions at all? Any other further comments tonight, folks? Any comments, any feedback? No?
Michelle, I also added the bookstore link. So people know you can buy activism books through a link where we get, or AAM gets a portion of those purchases.
I don't know if it's 10%. I don't remember. It's probably less than 10%. But if you buy your books through that link, then AAM gets a portion of that. And they're all great books that we recommend that you would like. A lot of the books are authored by a lot of our speakers and our presenters here. So we highly recommend those. Thank you, Amanda, for your help. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much. Okay. Stay in touch. If you'd like, if you're not on our email newsletter list where you can stay up to date on what AAM is doing, feel free to drop your email address in the chat. And we'll make sure you're added to the email list. Any other comments? Last call. Okay. All right. Stay strong, everyone, and live vegan. Thank you.